Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome to BoldTV. We got a lot of news happening. Make sure to put your comments, questions below. We're going to be talking about Trump. Should he pivot left or should he pivot right? I know that you have thoughts about this. We want to hear your thoughts, your comments. Keep them coming. And welcome. As usual, we are here on Friday morning, but unlike usual, we've got a guest host filling in for Clay. Don't tell Clay, but I think she's a little prettier than Clay. Probably a lot better than Clay.
Thank you, Carrie.
So we've got Selena Hill.
Yes.
She's a digital editor from Black Enterprise. Thanks for being here, Selena.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Carrie. You know, I'm very happy to be here on BoldTV. And of course, I want to remind everyone to like us on Facebook.com at BoldTV. And of course, you can check out our podcast as well on the show on iTunes and SoundCloud.
Thanks. So yeah, we've got a lot going on with Trump and what can he do to push his agenda forward. And of course, breaking overnight is the big news. We're going to go straight to the headlines. Put your comments. You've probably been seeing, your phone's probably been blowing up on Twitter, everywhere. Syria is on everyone's mind right now. And there was a strike of U.S. forces hitting Syrian air bases, or the air base of which it appears that the Syrian government launched a sarin gas attack on its own people. That happened this week on Tuesday, and in response, President Trump last night released our forces to retaliate. And we've got this is footage here that we're showing here. This is directly from the Pentagon. President Trump had a big press conference after the word of the sarin gas attacks, reportedly directly from the Assad regime. And President Trump said, you know what, this is babies that are being murdered, and this is so many red lines that are completely, totally crossed, and this has to have some sort of response. So, you know, it's tragic what's happened.
Yeah, and he took action within, 72 hours? I mean, we saw what happened on Tuesday, and already our military has taken a proportional size action. So it wasn't something major, but I think it was pretty much something that was symbolic to say that chemical warfare, you've crossed the red line. But here's the thing about Syria. Over 200,000 people have died in this 6-year civil war. So I kind of feel like on a humanitarian side, why is it that we're just caring? And if Donald Trump cares so much, why doesn't he try to open up our borders and let Syrian refugees come back in? I mean, first of all, Donald Trump is being extremely hypocritical. Back in 2013, he sent out over a dozen tweets bashing President Obama and telling him do not take military action. Now he's president, he decided to take that action. But the thing is, a lot of people on the right, as you know, Carrie, are extremely upset, especially to the far right, because they do not want to go to war. Our country cannot stomach the thought of war, and a lot of people on the left, like me, think that President Trump is too incompetent to even sort of narrate or make sure that this happens in a responsible way. So there's a lot going on here. I think there's a lot of uncertainty, and we're going to see how this unfolds in the next couple of days. But then again, like I said, what I most care about is just Syrian refugees, the Syrians that are dying left and right. And there's so many things that we can do diplomatically to help them if we do really want to help.
Those, Selena, I think those are some criticisms that are very fair in the sense of Trump has completely shattered the ideological alignment. Like you said, you think this was a good response because it was narrow in that he's directly just going after it's a targeted airstrike against the airbase itself where these attacks were launched from. It's not a massive boots on the ground invasion. It's not a mission creep right now. We'll see what happens. But and in that respect, you know, it's not even him. This is the military commanders who are managing this. And that was the big headline this week was that Steve Bannon was pushed out of the National Security Council, which probably gives. I know. I was like all my liberal friends are like, whew, they're excited because Bannon's out. And then we got some tweets that we're going to show on screen, which to me were actually pretty shocking. There's a tweet from Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity says, "Glad our arrogant president is enjoying his taxpayer-funded golf outing after announcing the U.S. should take military action against Syria." I mean, wow. This is the guy who was like the biggest cheerleader for President Trump, and now Sean Hannity has turned on him. Let's get the tweet also from Nigel
Well, he tweeted that
wait.
in 2013, and I just want to examine the
boy.
irony here. No, because honestly, something like that makes sense for 2017. But again, I just think that people on the right, like when Obama was president, we took I think people on the right was just so against him that they said anything. And now that the script has flipped, we see Donald Trump taking action, and you see people like Sean Hannity saying things that are completely contradictory and actually mirror what's going on now, because we know where Donald Trump is. He is on a golf course in Florida with the president of China, and that is where he made his decision to take military action. And we also have what is called a quote-unquote traveling White House, because this president decides to travel across the country to to different golf courses and to Aspens, and just takes these vacations. And you know what? It's costing us a lot of taxpayer money. So Sean Hannity, thank you for tweeting that in 2013. Obviously, that tweet did not age well, and a number of the tweets that Donald Trump actually tweeted back in 2013, when we were under the Obama administration, has proven not to age well as well.
Well, let's look at the tweet from Nigel Farage. This is from a 2017 tweet. And Nigel Farage, of course, is the guy who led the Brexit out in the UK. He says that many Trump voters will be worried about this military intervention. Where will it end? And you just, in general, looking at Twitter, a lot of people who carried Trump, carried the day for him, brought him to the White House. A lot of them are feeling upset about it. But I got to say, a lot of the traditional conservatives or neocons, like Jonah Goldberg at National Review, for example, a lot of them are saying, hey, you know what? This is realism setting in. Now the grown-ups are in town. This is real consequences that you can talk theoretically about, wanting to draw down troops. But guess what happened when Obama did that? When President Obama turned our backs on Iraq, that was when ISIS filled that vacuum. So
Yes.
I think that President Obama operated under this mentality that if America shrunk, that somehow we would have a better world. But that's not the case. I mean, look at like World War II. It was because of American courage and American strength, standing for democracy, standing for human rights. So we need to have a strong, robust America. That means a strong, robust world. So I think that Trump is growing into the role. We've got a comment here on Facebook from Carlos Pashmina. Says we shouldn't go to war, period. This is a geopolitical mess.
Agreed, Carlos. And I just want to add on, because, Carrie, you were talking about people on the far right that don't agree with Donald Trump. You know who else doesn't agree with him? The white nationalists that helped elect him and put him into office. We have a number of people from the alt-right, white nationalists, whatever you want to call them, who are also blasting Trump. So, and I think that, Trump is suffering from an extremely low approval rating. And a lot of people think that he took this military action so quickly just so that he can start to build his approval, and maybe that would make it easier for him to start to pass legislation and to push his agenda. So I think that the Trump White House was problematic from the start, and now that he's finally facing his first military crisis, it's putting a lot of Americans in a state of pandemonium because we don't know what to expect.
Sure. Well, we're going to keep talking about this in terms of what Trump should do, but let's move on and go to our next headline, the Pepsi commercial, the infamous Pepsi can opening heard around the world. Let's play a little clip from the commercial. You might have seen it. Let's play it. It's with the infamous Miss Jenner now, Miss Kendall Jenner. Let's roll part of the commercial. Oh, boy. And of course, Black Lives Matter activist Ray McKesson calling it trash, adding, if I had just carried Pepsi, I guess I never would have gotten arrested. Who knew? And there was another tweet from an Australian member of Parliament who said, you never heard about that speech. If only Martin Luther King had delivered the I have a Pepsi speech,
right,
the world would be a better place.
Exactly. So apparently, Kendall Jenner has solved all of the isms in the world with a Pepsi can. World peace has been achieved. I mean, when I saw this, I actually expressed my views in an article that I wrote on blackenterprise.com, and I just thought it was a complete mess, especially from a branding perspective. I don't know who green-lighted this in Pepsi? You would think that in 2017 they would hire advertising agents that are just smarter than this. But if you want to connect to millennials, if you want to connect to our generation, and specifically people of color, you don't do it like this. It feels like they're almost mocking Black Lives Matter with the imagery and the fact that they have Kendall Jenner, who has, from my understanding, never spoken up or really taken a real stance to help progressives fight the fight against social justice or for social justice. I mean, if Pepsi and Kendall really want to do something, donate $1 million or join DeRay McKesson and the other people on the front lines who are putting their bodies on the line each and every day to fight for social justice. If you're doing it like this, honestly, it feels like they're appropriating the entire movement, which we take really seriously, whether they see that or not.
Well, Luke Watson says that commercial looks like an SNL parody. Thanks, Luke, from London.
Yeah, right. I
and
agree.
Stanley Frid says, I tried to hand a cop of a bottle of Pepsi once, and it didn't go well. So try that. Yeah. My big problem with all of this is that it's Pepsi. Pepsi is gross. Pepsi is bad for you. Soda is really, really horrible. Like, we have this massive obesity crisis in this country.
Right.
And let's talk about the billions of dollars in subsidies that go out to the sugar industry every year. Let's cut that out, too. I think we can both agree on this, Selena.
Agreed.
Like, we veto this commercial.
100%. Pepsi, donate some water to the next Black Lives Matter demonstration. That would be even more beneficial than them trying to poison us with Pepsi. I'm there in the marches. I'm there at the demonstrations. The last thing we need, like you said, is a Pepsi. I need some water.
Yes, dump the Pepsi. So let's move on. Let's turn to Gorsuch. He's a guy that I like. I don't think we're going to agree on this one, Selena. However, it's just this monumental shift that happened in the Senate. And we've got an interview with Guy Benson on Bold from Carrie Wheeler. And I got to give a shout out to Carrie. It's her last day with us here on Bold TV, her last TV show. Thanks for your work, Carrie. But Carrie did an interview with Guy Benson, and Guy Benson is a well-known Fox analyst, and he said that this is an orgy of hypocrisy for Democrats to be upset about Gorsuch because they were the ones who invoked the nuclear option in 2013 under President Obama because they wanted to get their judicial nominees. And so now the tables are turned. Again, hypocrisy is a shoe worn on both feet.
Okay, so if you're going to make that argument, can we at least acknowledge the fact that after Justice Scalia died unexpectedly, President Obama, he nominated Merrick Garland, and Senate Republicans refused to even bring him to a vote, bring him to have a confirmation hearing. How are we being hypocritical when we're just fighting back against a stolen seat? And honestly, as someone that's a part of the Resist Trump movement, I think we need to resist at each and every level and every angle. First of all, Donald Trump might not even be here in another few weeks. There is a big chance he might be impeached.
50 Shades of Impeachment fantasies by my liberal friends. So, I don't think it's going to happen, people.
Resist. I'm all for it. All for it.
I don't know. First of all, Scalia is a very conservative judge.
He was.
And so
He was.
If you think that the Republicans were going to necessarily even vote to get someone like Garland, I always conflate his name, Merrick Garland. If you get Garland on, I just don't think that is the true heritage of Scalia. And so I think it's totally in the realm of just normal. Honestly, actually, Scott Rasmussen this week did an analysis of all Supreme Court nominees. 23% have been rejected. So it's actually pretty normal for people to turn around and say, no, we don't want this nominee. However, Republicans tend to be more accommodating. So, like, they voted for Sotomayor.
Yes.
They let her through.
Yes.
And the last time this even happened was with Ronald Reagan and Bork, which was, a Republican president decades ago. So, Trump has certainly broke the mold on everything. So I think the vote's supposed to happen at 11:30. After Bold TV, tune in 11:30. Check out to see what happens with Gorsuch. But I mean, it's looking like he's probably going to skate through with probably a 52 vote. In fact, there are actually 3 Democrats from states that went for Trump who have said that they plan to vote for Gorsuch as well. So that would put him at 55 votes.
Carrie, I'm so glad that you said that traditionally Republicans were pretty accommodating and, electing a Supreme Court nominee wasn't always as partisan. But that really speaks to the state of our country and our nation where partisan politics rule. And I think that for Republicans back under the Obama administration, they made it their number one priority to just lead an agenda of opposition and obstruction. And that's exactly what they did. And this is the result. And I think that the history books are going to show this.
Well, Trey Wright says if it was reversed, the Democrats would have done the same thing, which is actually exactly what Chuck Schumer said that they should do when they were in power. So it is true, and both sides are doing it.